Good to see you there, Lucas. I saw an email from you, but I've noticed that you're ready and you're attending. That's good. Good to see you there.
Yeah, thank you, Sundara. Nice to hear you too.
Yeah.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Shall we start?
Lucas, have you got any topic you would like to start with?
Just, I think, Sarah, maybe let me finish drink a coffee. I will listen for now. If I've got something, I'll let you know, okay?
And Nina, you asked me a question on DSG about, with regard to the paramis, the perfection,
Yes.
and what it meant when Ajahn mentioned about the understanding, developing, and becoming enrooted. I think that what is meant is that we know that there are the unwholesome roots and the wholesome roots, and the unwholesome roots of ignorance and attachment are very, very deeply rooted. And understanding has to develop on and on until it becomes deeply rooted to eventually pull out or eradicate the unwholesome roots.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting, Kunina, because I noticed the way I understood that was enrooted, ENROUTED. So like it's putting into place panya, sati and panya, obviously, so that they're on track. You know, it's a strong, and Tanajan can perhaps elaborate on this, because I've often heard her use that. Tanajan, I've often heard her use that word, enrooting, and I think that's my understanding, that it's an establishing or a consolidating of the Dhamma by way of sati and panya. Tanajan, you often use that word enrooting. How do you understand? Can you tell us more what you mean by that word, enrooting?
Root and then enroot, right?
Yeah. Well, you often you use the verb. You use it in a verbal sense, to enroot.
Enroot, to enroot, right?
Yes.
Not to and then when it's enrooted, little by little, it can develop on and on because there is root for its developing.
There is roots for it. So what's the Thai word you would use for that, Tanajan Cup?
For example, right understanding is an aiming root for it to develop, to grow.
There has to be.
Grow.
I see. Yeah, there has to be. Obviously, there has to be a foundation. There has to be heitu there for wisdom to grow.
So now, at moment of understanding, is that enrooted for understanding to grow?
Well, it's not all the time, Tanajan. It's little by little.
And that inspired me to understand the truth of this moment as it is. So very subtle, beyond expectation. Each word cannot be changed because it's the absolute characteristic of whatever is there, one by one. For example, reality. See, we don't talk about anything which doesn't have any characteristic to be known at all. But now it's there. It has its characteristic to be known. That is that which is seen. And the moment when it appears, there must be the reality which experiences it. Otherwise, it cannot be known or it cannot be seen at all. This is the enrooting, understanding what is there to be known until it appears as it is. For example, now, the moment of arising, the moment of falling away of just that which appears is not known at all. can it be known when it's so true? But when there's no understanding of it at all, how can there be the understanding precisely of that very object, different from other objects? Otherwise, when they are together, it cannot be known what arises and what falls away. That's why the truth of whatever is now appearing is so very subtle. It's covered up by not understanding the differences between a characteristic and the other characteristic. For example, now seeing is not hearing. It's just thinking about seeing and thinking about hearing, but not the moment when seeing arises, sees, and hearing arises, hear. One at a time, only one at a time. But the succession of the arising and falling away is so very, very quickly. That's why it's covered up, that it's gone. No matter what is now appearing, it's gone. So subtle. But when there is a little understanding of the differences between the two, there can be the understanding of different ones. And there can be attention, awareness, developing right understanding of the distinction between two characteristic nama, not just only one, and rupa. Now in a day, different ones. It can be known because it's there to be known. But when it's not there, it's impossible to understand the truth of that moment because it's gone. And this is parami, little by little, letting go ignorance and attachment. Take it something so very firmly I of thing, but in truth, just one at a time, arising and falling away. Until even that moment appears as nimitta of a reality. So now, nimitta of many, many realities. At once, it seems like that, but it has to arise just one moment at a time. Can it be changed? The truth is the truth.
No, it can't be changed, Dhamma.
So no doubt about parami.
Well,
I have some doubt. I used to think at the moment of dana, only when there is panya, it is a parami. But now I understand better Ajah's explanation about enrooted, because even if panya does not arise, but there is accumulated the right understanding that there is not self doing this, even that, even it doesn't arise, it's still accumulated, and it can still be a parami, if I understand rightly, but I want to ask this.
So parami is all kinds of wholesomeness, kusala, which developed until there can be the understanding, not just intellectual moment, but at that very moment when it's there, so natural. Now, it's so natural as it is all the time, but no understanding of anything. So parami is moment of beginning to understanding the truth of what is there as it is. And akusala cannot understand the truth at all. And no one can have great parami instantly to realize the truth of that, which appears just one at a time in truth. That's why beginning to develop the understanding of the truth at level of intellectual understanding, because there cannot be such an understanding of the truth or realize the truth without letting go what is there now in life. Come alive. But it's not known. And the difference is that when it's known, different, but the object cannot be changed at all. Whatever is now can be known. When Panya begins to understand the truth little by little. How can seeing be the moment of hearing, see? To be truthful to the truth. It is a beginning of understanding a little more of the truth of what is there, as what is seeing and what is hearing. Not enough. What about whatever in life in a day? Thinking, liking, disliking, attachment, aversion, jealousy, ego, everything, all other masks. And it depends on conditions because it has been enrooted that it can be known now. It's that which can be known, only that which appears. Otherwise, there cannot be attention or understanding what is there as it is, direct awareness of one object at a time until the object appears well, on and on and on, until it can attain the moment of the arising and falling away of one nimitta, of one characteristic. Otherwise, nothing can let go the attachment to the self or thing as it has been accumulated up till now, any moment when there is no understanding. That's why it takes courageous, so great to develop right understanding, to let go now, to take it for something, because the truth is that what is appearing is not that anymore. One moment thinking about, and what is more subtle than that, split seconds of a split second. Imagine.
Ajahn, Panya does not arise every moment, but it is still accumulated. Is that the meaning of?
Yeah. Even just understanding the truth now, just what you said, it's parami. Because it's there. Even it does not appear all the time, but it's there.
Yes.
Nina, it only accumulates when it arises. If there's no panya, then it doesn't accumulate at those moments. But by accumulating, it becomes more and more enrooted, and it conditions all kinds of kusala to arise because it is enrooted. But we can't say that it's accumulating at every moment in life. Only when it arises does it accumulate.
Yeah. It's still difficult for me to understand and root it.
I think it's like, as I mentioned at the start, even though there isn't ignorance and attachment at every moment, it's very deeply enrooted because it has been accumulated for so very long that it's very, very natural for it to arise and to condition all kinds of akusala. Yes. So in the same way, panya has to accumulate and develop on and on to become more and more enrooted. And the more enrooted it is, the more it conditions all kinds of kusala to arise, even when there isn't panya itself arising at every moment.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Tana Cup, can we say that it's there by way of Asiya?
For sure. Otherwise, what is Asiya?
Well, that's what I was just double checking with you, Tana Jan. I thought that would be the case. It must be there by way of Asiya.
So now, is parami enrooted?
Not enough yet, I think. Not enough parami.
Never enough, Nina.
Is it not there? It's taken
Well,
away.
we can say it's there by way of Asya, Tanajan, but whether or not it's accumulating by way of Asya, well, that's another matter.
We understand Anusya, so the wholesome, not the akusa, is Asya. And Asya includes both. It means that that's the way all dhammas are at level of Asya.
For those who are newer here, not familiar with the Pali terms, the Asya and Anusya are the various latent tendencies of kusala and akusala, of wholesome and unwholesomeness that are not arising, but lying latent, carried from chitta to chitta. So the Anusya refer to the unwholesome tendencies, and the Asya to the wholesome and unwholesome tendencies. So we may wonder why understanding suddenly arises. This is because the tendency is there, ready to condition the wholesome tendency. Or we may wonder why there's suddenly anger out of the blue. It's because the latent tendency, the anusya, is there, ready to condition the anger at any time. So these tendencies are carried from each chitta to each chitta during life, and until at various stages of enlightenment, different unwholesome tendencies, unwholesome anusya are eradicated completely.
And it's now.
And it's now when we are discussing and listening. A little more understanding.
But even what is now does not appear clear. But we learn to understand what is there, little by little. Beginning by Asya, see, it's there. You don't have to find which and when, but at this moment, it's there. It's not lost at all. But it depends on moment of understanding or not understanding. When there is the moment of understanding, ignorance gets less, little by little, because at level of understanding, it's the moment of letting the akusala by understanding. Not anymore that level of ignorance and akusala when there is understanding, depending on how much understanding is there. All Adama, see. And it's so close now here. So when there is the understanding of Dhamma, the idea of I, it's not there at that very moment. of seeing, no eye, when there's more understanding. At moment of hearing sound, no one, no legs, no arms, understanding is there of that which hears and that which appears. So the world is just that which is Nama and Rupa.
Again, just to elaborate a little for those who are new here, when we say it's here, it's now, all the tendencies are now. At a moment of seeing now, there's no ignorance at the moment of seeing. There's no understanding at a moment of seeing. It's a vipaka citta, the result of karma. But those tendencies, the asya, anusya, all the different wholesome and unwholesome tendencies that have been accumulated from lifetime to lifetime are latent in the citta and are carried from each citta to each citta. So they are here at this moment, at every moment, ready to condition ignorance or understanding or attachment or aversion after the vipaka cittas have fallen away so very soon afterwards, even in the sense door processes. So what we learn is that whatever arises is by various conditions. And I think this comes back to Mark's question last week, which we said we would discuss more, because I think you mentioned, Mark, there seems to be an I. So it seems to be an I who can be angry or be happy or a pleasant feeling or sad feeling. But we learn that there are these different tendencies ready to condition the arising of different wholesome and unwholesome moments, and other conditions as well having their effect. So we learn that whatever arises is by conditions. No one there to make seeing arise, no one there to make anger arise. Each reality, each nama or rupa arises by different conditions. And the point of learning more about these conditions, for example, talking now about asya or anusya, is to show that those conditions are there, ready to condition the arising of these different qualities, these different wholesome or unwholesome states, or the different pleasant and unpleasant feelings that we were talking about last time.
Yes, I thought of Mark's remarks he had last time, because sometimes as I got it, he understands there is no self. Sometimes he finds it difficult and think of self. But that is also very normal, since we are not Intl.Dhamma, and the idea of self is not eradicated yet. I have an example too. I have a wound and it has to be cleaned by daycare, and it hurts a lot. And then at that moment of pain, I don't think only conditions, phenomena, but I don't think just different elements. I don't think like that, too much pain. But it doesn't matter really, because for Mark and for me, just different moments by conditions. And we should not mind, because if we mind, there's more attachment. And this I learned because of conditions of our conversations here, our discussions. So I find it so very valuable. We listen to Ajahn and we can discuss it among others, among us. And then there's more, little by little, a little more understanding.
That's right. Be truthful to the truth. We use the term seeing. No one can change. It's not anyone who can find the I at moment of seeing, because seeing is just a moment arises to see, nothing else at that moment, only seeing and that which is seen. This is the moment of letting go, the idea of self little by little. Seeing is seeing. Now it sees no one, no arms, no leg, no thought, no arm. Little by little, it will be more confident to understand the truth. Because at the moment of talking about seeing and being reminded about seeing right now, or attending to the characteristic which is at that moment no one at all, no leg, no cupboard, no thing. It's just a moment of attending to that characteristic little by little to understand it as nothing is there, only seeing. And it's so true. Nothing is as truth as that moment. Nothing together, nothing with the seeing and that which is seen. So how come the idea of I, ignorance is there? Not understanding, only seeing as it's just a reality sees. That's why there are many moments in life uncountable, but no understanding and beginning to listen, to understand the truth of it, little by little, to be truthful to the truth. It's just seeing. But it takes quite a long, long time to understand the seeing because it's not the word, but it's the moment of experiencing, moment of experiencing, a moment of experiencing that which is seen. Many, many moments, not only one. That's why we can see that so many moments of seeing right now. It seems like it's there all the time. But the truth is that at moment of hearing, there must not be seeing. At moment of touching, there must not be seeing. At moment of thinking, there must not be seeing. Seeing is seeing. Thinking is thinking. All gone, one by one reality at a time. So where's the I? They are only different conditioned realities beyond control. No one there at all. So there can be the moment of understanding the difference between ignorance and understanding. That's right. Learn to understand the truth, to have more confidence of the truth. Satya Barami and Idana Barami. And there must be Viriya and Kanti at that moment too, because it's so difficult to understand that which has no shape and form. It just arises and experience thinking about that. Otherwise, it arises and experience. It means that seeing cannot have any rupa in it at all. Only that at any time experience, and it means that it has a reasonable condition to arise to experience. So how can there be anyone when it appears just as seeing? But now it does not appear as only seeing. There are other realities appearing together, but that is not true. But the very rapidity of arising and falling away of reality, who can change the way it appears? Even to Buddha or anyone, it appears as thing or something all the time. But who knows that actually what is there? That is when the enlightenment of the truth. At that moment of understanding just one characteristic at a time, not by thinking, not by considering, but At moment, no word at all. It's there, appearing as it is. But there must be understanding to condition that moment to appear. Because it's just like that. No one can change from eons ago and on and on and on. But understanding can begin to understand the truth of reality until it can appear as well, so well as it is, as it hasn't been known before. So have confidence of the truth of each reality, just one word of a reality, seeing. And then there can be understanding of other reality after little by little. No matter what kind of that which arises to experience, it depends on its characteristic to arise to be attached, to arise to be hatred. Whatever is there in life, it's conditioned to arise only as it is, and then gone. Where was it? Never to arise again. Just listen about the truth of whatever is there, on and on and on. It's the way to let go the idea of self or the clinging to that object because of less ignorance of its truth.
And I think, Mark, that as you said last time, sometimes it seems to make sense and sometimes it's difficult to accept what you hear. But different moments of wise considering that it is just seeing now and no one made seeing arise and it has to be just the way it's conditioned. There's a little understanding. At other moments, there's doubt and thinking about I, or like in Nina's example, taking it for my pain or thinking it's too painful or too early in the morning or I'm too sleepy to understand. All kinds of different ideas come in. But when there is the right considering, as Ajahn said, of one reality at a time now, hearing now, just sound that is heard, the world of sound, at those moments, no problem with accepting because it can be found to be so true at this moment. And the other point you mentioned at the end of the discussion was that you asked how to recognize a wise person and the true Dhamma because different people say different things. I don't think you have to look for the wise person or think about this person or that person. Just consider what is said or what is read, whether it's true that there is seeing now and that it falls away instantly and that what is seen is just that which is visible. So just consider whether what is heard is true or not, instead of thinking about, well, can I really believe what this person or that person says, which is a distraction from understanding the reality at this very moment. What do you think, Mark?
Yes.
You're right, I'm thinking. When you talked about considering, I thought I tried to remember whether I was considering or not, and I was trying to understand what you meant by considering. And also, when we say at the moment of seeing, there is just seeing, what I try to do is see whether that is true. But the only way I can accept that statement, but at the moment of seeing, there's only seeing, is by, it seems to me, is by believing that what the Buddha said was true. So
Sorry,
there seems to be no reference in this life to the truth of that statement.
excuse me, when you're saying believe and accept, it's not that the Panya that understand the truth and understand it, knowing that it's the truth. In Buddhism, is not like believing and all that. It's about the understanding the reality as it is.
So it doesn't seem to be that reality doesn't appear. I think that's what the Jan says as well. It's not the reality of seeing only at the moment that it's seeing, and it's not the same as hearing. That does not manifest itself to me. So the only way for me to accept that statement is by having faith or trust in what the Jan says and what the Buddha says, what you all say.
No,
but there seems to be no reference to the experience itself.
it's not like that.
Mark, can I ask you something?
Yes.
Whether is this are you, when you hear about this thing, do you feel as though you have to experience it first directly? It sounds as if that's the only way to be to arouse confidence, because we talk a lot about different levels of understanding, starting with pariyati, and what direct understanding is a higher level of understanding, which starts with, which must follow from a lot of hearing. And so when we hear about such things, I don't think it is about knowing anything directly, but understanding at the intellectual level. So when there's understanding at the intellectual level, that's also a level of understanding, and no doubt. So that's where we start. I think that's where we all start.
Yes, I can appreciate that. But at that point, there some things I do understand intellectually. I understand that at the moment of seeing, there is only seeing. I understand that intellectually. But that doesn't
I mean, if you understand, that is not belief. That is not belief because the Buddha said it. It's because you see at that level what the Buddha said to be true.
But that's the point. I'm not sure that it's true. It's just
that's
intellectual
probably another
understanding.
moment.
Sorry?
No, it can alternate. Sometimes there's a slight understanding and then doubt. And doubt is just another reality to know.
But when they try to understand,
But that's like a snake biting its own tail. But it is all right. But I think I have to live with a certain uncertainty of.
Well,
I have to live with the. What I'm sure of is that I don't understand. So I have to live with the fact that I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point, because earlier you mentioned when you, if I paraphrase you correctly, when you try to verify by direct experience what you've heard, it can't be verified. It doesn't seem to be that way. But the difficulty is with verifying that Dhammas can only be known by understanding, or can only be seen by understanding. So it's not possible to having heard something and grasp it intellectually, to then try to expect to be able to verify, because the next level, the verification, is direct understanding. And this cannot be done by just deciding to focus on that, what we take to be that reality. So I think there one needs, this is where patience comes in, that having heard the Dhamma and understood at some intellectual level, grasped the basic idea at some intellectual level, the next level of understanding can be some way away. because direct understanding is at a more advanced level of understanding. So it's only to be expected that there will be doubt. There will be trying to verify directly, but then one appreciates, one understands, one remembers that this is not the way the Buddha's teaching, because it's not something happening by conditions. It's something we are trying to do. But the intellectual understanding can develop further until it becomes firmer. But that takes time. So one appreciates the value of having heard the Buddha's description of the way things are. And then it's a matter of being patient for the understanding to develop over time.
Yes, and I think you sometimes say, which I hear often, just live. What can I do? I'm paraphrasing you now. What can I do? And you say, just live naturally. I think that's an advice I can work with. Just live naturally. Just listen naturally. Just it seems.
Yeah, and also the idea of there being or not being an I happens naturally. I mean, it's an accumulation that when there is the sense of an I, it is just an idea, a sense. It isn't direct experiencing of that I. So again, it's just an idea that forms in the mind.
Yes,
whether it's strong or weak, it's still a conceptual idea, and accompanied by a certain feeling. I mean, there may be some kind of strong feeling that it's there, but even so, it's not any direct understanding of anything, direct experiencing. So then it just is there, and then later it's not there. So it can be appreciated that it's just an accumulated tendency to think that way.
Yes, and I think that the question, how can I recognize the truth being spoken, is for a great part motivated by impatience. So what I want is the truth now. And I can see that that's not so much of a helpful attitude.
And you asked what is meant by considering when I talked about considering.
Yes.
So
yes,
now there is considering whether it's true that it is just seeing which sees, whether it is just sound that is heard now, or whether there is an I, or what the urgency to understand is. So these are moments of considering, sometimes wise considering, sometimes unwise considering, but it's just the reflecting about what is the truth at this moment. So even if there isn't the understanding that it is just seeing at a moment of seeing, by considering, by reflecting, there is the beginning to consider whether it may be possible that there is no self there, as we've always thought, that there are just these different realities arising by conditions. Even the considering now, no one chooses what to consider, but the considering arises, the thinking arises, different from the seeing, different from the hearing, and according to different habits and accumulations, it thinks about different topics. Now it is thinking about different realities, but it's not I that is thinking or deciding what to think about. It's all by the tendencies and accumulations to think about this or think about that.
But when you say that I was considering at the moment, what I'm doing is how do you say that? Connect the things I'm experiencing to the intellectual understanding. So I'm sort of, for instance, when we say the I is just thinking, it's only in the thought. When I'm considering, I'm sort of testing whether that is acceptable in this experience, and it seems to be the case. It seems to be the case that when I'm how do you say that? Thinking back at it's hard to say, but when I compare the sentence, the I is just in the thinking, towards the experiencing of I can see that it might be true. But that's the considering I do. I always compare what I experienced with the intellectual thinking.
And it seems that it's all I that is considering, I that is connecting, I that is comparing. But what about at this moment? Aren't they just moments of thinking which arise, think about this or that, and then fall away? Where is the I that connects or compares or considers?
Well,
if there's no thinking about an I, can the I be found?
Well, it seems that when there's no thinking of the I is always somewhere in the back. So when I say I am considering, that doesn't seem to be an I, but the I is in the thinking itself, mainly in the phrasing I am considering. So there seems to be in some thought about the I all the time.
Can we say there are conditions for different citas to arise, different citas with citta seekers, moments of seeing, moments of hearing, moments of thinking with attachment, moments of thinking with understanding. And those citas and citta seekers have to experience an object. So there is the thinking about different ideas like connecting or considering or I. So the thinking itself is real, arising by conditions and falling away. But the story of I connecting the dots or I comparing this and that, these are the ideas, the concepts that are thought about, not the reality. So we're looking at the distinction between the actual realities, the namas and the rupas, and those, and what is not reality, the story, the idea about I.
Yes, that's
a point to consider more.
Yeah, I will.
You were saying that I'm trying to accept and all that to do something. Actually, that is all wrong view and all that. There's nothing to be done. Understand come naturally and unexpected. Cannot choose to understand this and all. It's like, because not knowing is I on top all the time. So it's always trap.
Yes, thank you. I understand.
And just to make sure, I think what Sarah was just saying is that the path is the understanding understands the present moment, what appears, and understanding that there's no self is because there's such understanding. It's not like some people might think it's a way to tease out the I and think about philosophically whether the I is really there or not. It's not like that. It's not how you come to understand that there's no I by just thinking. It's through understanding what appears, and hence the need for patience, because that's not easy.
Yes, thank you.
Hannah-chan, would you like to add any points?
Yes, I think that if we talk in general, very, very simple. For example, do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Everyone understands, but no understanding of hearing, right? Do you hear me? Everyone understands. But when we talk about hearing, is there anyone understand hearing?
Not many.
See, that's why in truth, when we use the word, I understand hearing, shall we begin to consider what hearing is as it is, as it can be known? It's there, right? But it's hearing. It's there, but it's hearing. Is it wrong to say that it's there, but it's hearing? Hearing is hearing. Is that wrong?
No, that's not wrong.
Not wrong. So have confidence of the truth. Hearing cannot be anything at all. It's hearing. What is hearing? It's the moment of experiencing sound. So is there sound? Yes. So sound is not anyone. It does not belong to anyone, but it's just sound which can be heard. And when it's heard, there must be a reality, experiencing it, not thinking about it before at all. In mind, just I hear yesterday, tomorrow, and hearing is just that which hears the word. That's all. But what is that? It has its characteristic to be just hearing. Nobody can change hearing because hearing hears. They use the word hears, experiencing sound only at moment of hearing. And in life, there are so many, many moments, not only moment of hearing. That's why, what is the truth of each one? If there is the idea that I hear, can there be hearing before hearing arise? Can there be hearing before hearing arise?
I suppose, yes.
Can there be hearing when hearing does not arise before hearing arises? Can there be hearing? Just hearing.
Yes, I think so.
I think Ajahn means, can there be hearing without hearing arising?
Oh, no.
So at that moment when hearing arises, or before hearing arises, where's the I who hear? Or where's the I when hearing does not arise yet? There's no idea that I hears. But before that, where's the I? To be moment of I hear. But when hearing arises, that is the idea of I hear instantly. Because it's the moment of experiencing. No one there. The experiencing arises and experience. Since there's no one there, it's I here. But if hearing does not arise, where's the I before hearing arises? Find the I. Where's the I?
It's the questions are too difficult for me, I think. I don't know the answer.
So when hearing arises, who hears? I. How come? Where's the I before hearing? That it can come to hear. And at moment of seeing, there's no hearing. Before hearing, there can be seeing. So where's the I? Before hearing, seeing, thinking, where is the I? Is the I somewhere, sometime?
Well, if I look at my experience, the I is almost always there. Certainly when I think of it, it's there.
Yes, please. Excuse me. What's there? The I is there. And what is there? What is there?
Thinking. Just think.
thinking, and before thinking arises, where's the I?
I don't know. But can be there, can be not. I don't know.
If it's there, it can be done. But when it's not there, nobody can know because it's not there. So when we talk about the I, it seems like we understand what is I. But in fact, or in truth, what is I? If nothing arises at all, if nothing arises at all, can there be I, or where is the I?
It seems there cannot be an I, but the mind doesn't really want to go into that understanding, I think.
When
It's too
yes,
scary to be thinking there is no I. That's what I experience now. I experience fear of losing the I.
If nothing arises at all, can there be I?
I would say not.
That's why only when something arises and they understand, wrong understanding, take it for I, instead of understand the nature of seeing. What is it? A reality which can experience, and when it sees, it just can see. Only that, no one can change it. And before they seeing, where's the I? If nothing arises at all, where's the I, or is there I somewhere when nothing arises?
No, I don't think there is an I at that moment.
So whatever arises, there is the idea of I see, I hear, I think, I like, I hate. Whatever arises, the I is there. But actually, seeing cannot be I or anyone at all. It's conditioned to arise. Without conditions, it cannot arise at all. So where's the I who conditioned it? Who can make it arise? No one. That's why understanding the truth that if nothing arises at all, there cannot be anything at all. But when whatever arises, it is different by conditions. For example, hatred is not attachment. Who condition these two to arise differently? By conditions. That's why when there is no understanding of conditions for whatever arises, it cannot be known as it's not anything at all because no one can make it arise and it's there by conditions. And as soon as it has a reason, it is there or gone instantly. The truth found, gone. Hearing, gone. It just arises to hear and then gone. And that which is heard is conditioned to arise to be heard only. Thinking about the absolute truth of each reality as how come for its arising, the conditions. Even it arises is not known as it's only just a moment of seeing or hearing. It's taken for I, people or thing all the time. But where are those people or I when they are gone, never to arise again? So consider from the very beginning what is true and what is not true. And the truth can be studied because it can be understood by its conditions, by its functions, by its characteristics, and many things because it's there real and it has such and such characteristic quality of its own to be known as it's not the other one. Just arise and falls away. Yesterday, just a moment ago, gone, never to return at all. So where is the I? Just to be truthful, to understand, to solve the problem or the vichikicha. But where is the I and what is I? Find out what is I when nothing arises at all. There is no I. But when whatever arises is taken for something, and also I too, who sees, who hears, no one there. at moment of seeing and hearing. So it's I. But when it's gone, the I is gone too. When it hasn't risen, the I does not arise, because actually what arises, arising and falling away, no I at all. So we can find out the truth of whatever is true, no matter it is that which experiences the object or that which cannot experience the object. If there is any doubt, consider it. There are words about it to be considered, whether it's true or not. Whatever is now has to arise by conditions. Seeing is not hearing, it's not thinking, it's not hardness, it's not softness, it's not sweet at all. Is that true? Each reality has its own characteristic, conditioned just to be such and then gone, never to be found, never to arise again. So where's the I? Seeing cannot be I see because it's gone forever, never to arise again. Hearing now, just a moment of hearing, gone, never to be found, never arise again. So where's the I? If it's taken for I hear, where's the I who hears? Where's the I who sees? They are all gone. What is right and what is wrong? Can anyone make the I to arise, like seeing, hearing? If seeing is I, can anyone make seeing to arise? And if there's no seeing, no I who see, just consider what is true, because the truth is the truth. Right now, it's so true. It's there by conditions, no matter it's seeing, hearing, thinking, they're all there at moment of seeing many things all the time, but actually in truth, it cannot be all the time. Just in very short moment, unexpectedly, gone, unknown, is the word of false or lie, falsehood, no understanding the way it is. So take it for something permanent, like the moment of birth, not anymore at all. As birth cannot be found again or arise again, seeing now cannot arise again, it's gone. Everything is not permanent. It's a world of conditioned reality, arising and falling away, breaking world all the time. Seeing now arises and falls away at moment of hearing. Hearing is there and then fall away. So can there be anything as permanent I? Because when we use the word I, it means that it's so permanent. It's I. But I can think about the impermanency of what's there. But I think, but actually in truth, if there is no thinking, can there be I think? And what condition thinking to arise in such and such and such way? Understanding the truth, that is the truth. To know whether it's false or true, seeing right now is conditioned. There are more than one conditions. It's not just only the I base or that which depends on it, also dependent on to Dhamma which has been done. Condition such moment of experiencing such object at such time. Can anyone make it to arise at such and such moment? That's why when there is the understanding of the truth, no idea of I, but it has been accumulated quite a long, long time. So it cannot be let go absolutely by just hearing the truth. It has to be a moment of directly experiencing the truth. So there is the word appears well in Tipitaka. And what does it mean? Now, when many things arise, it seems like together, never fall away at all. So it seems like permanent. Everything, the rose is permanent. The food, everything is so permanent. Nothing arises and falls away. Is that true? when there is the understanding of each one as it is, there can be the understanding of that one firmer and firmer until it let go the clinging attachment to the other object which follows. Depending on condition, the time for understanding to arise, to experience the truth, which is as so true at any time, even right now, to be known as it is. So is that I arising and falling away?
Mark, I think like, so you agree with us that seeing, hearing, thinking, all that are not you. Okay, so, but when you think you're not sure about whether it's I, and in that moment, it is you who thinks, or what do you think?
It's that's a hard question. And the thing which when Ajahn was talking, it's there is something in mind which makes it hard for me to listen to Ajahn, and what I experience is that when someone is talking, that the I is not really there, and I understand it intellectually. There is the inclination to forcefully drop the I in the mind with me, and that generates a lot of fear. And what happens is that the fear is sort of clouding the intellectual understanding at that moment. I'm just describing what's happening with me at that time.
You were saying that you experience, but what do you mean by you experiencing?
You, me.
You say that you experience. So what are the reality? Is that you who experience, or what?
Well, I can answer that intellectually, or I can answer that how do you say that in another way. If I answer it intellectually, and then according to that what is said and written, I would say there is only this consciousness which is experiencing it. If I'm answering it from what I from conviction, I would say there is an I who experiences. So there's in me there are two understandings. There's an understanding which follows the intellectual explanations, and there's an understanding which sees there is an I. And Ajahn said that it's normal to experience the I. I is always there because it's accumulated.
It's when you
so from the accumulation, so the real I would say there is an I experience because it's accumulated apparently.
You were saying intellectually, and you're saying that from the text like this, like that. That's not Dhamma. That's wrong. It's Dhamma is meant to be understand. Buddha enlightenment, and then he teach that reality are all Dhammas. They are no one. They're seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, body sense, and thinking, which is not you. So when you're saying that there's idea of I, that thinking also is just a reality. Thinking are real. Thinking that they are concept.
Yes, I understand. But what you're saying to me is you are addressing my intellect. So I understand what you're saying, and I believe you are sincere. But if I would talk intellectually again, there's also accumulation of believing in an I here on this side of the screen, and that's not gone. Although you are saying that there is no I, the accumulation on this side of the screen of the I is there.
Yes, that's
So you're right. It's wrong view, but it's accumulated and it's here.
so wrong view is Dhamma, right? Not you, not anybody. It's just a reality only.
Yes.
So like I asked, when thinking that there's I, is that you're thinking it's Mark's thinking or it's reality, which is no one?
Intellectually, I would say that it's no one's thinking, but the accumulation say it's my thinking.
No, why you say intellectually? We are talking about reality. It's not matter of intellectual.
Haji, I think what Mark is saying is that when he hears an explanation, he understands the explanation, he understands the logic, he understands the reasoning, but that's about it. Otherwise, for him, there's always the idea of self. So it's like it's one thing to just reason and your way to that conclusion, and another to just understand that it's the case, it's true. Is
And
that
that's
it,
exact-
Mark?
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
You're right.
And it's exactly
Yeah,
what Nina was saying at the start. We can
Yes.
hear forever that there are just realities that are no self. But as she was saying, when there's strong pain, it seems to be my pain and it seems to last. So that's why there has to be a lot of considering and reflecting. And of course, there's going to be lots of clinging to self, lots of wrong view, lots of ignorance, because they're so deeply rooted. And I think that the fear you mentioned, if there was no clinging to self, clinging to the idea of self, there would be no fear about losing it. So of course, it's that clinging is very deeply rooted.
Yes.
So back to being rooted, it's very, very deeply rooted, that clinging to self. And even though we know intellectually it's a great burden that's being carried around, it seems that there's fear of letting it go. So that's why there has to just be the careful considering about different realities. What seeing is now, what hearing is that now. No one can stop wrong view arising. No one can stop clinging to self. No one can stop taking the pain for my pain. But gradually, by considering and understanding a little more, the burden is released. And instead of being fearful, it is lighter and more pleasant feeling and less difficulty and disturbance in life. But it just takes time.
Yes,
So,
and it is also for some reason, if someone reasons in a very a good way, like Ajahn and you all, there's for me there's the impatience of letting that intellectual understanding force my way into believing there is no I, and that's the fear. So there's the impatience of becoming the Dhamma creates the fear for some reason. And like the comparison with the wound of Nina, it feels like a wound. It feels like if I convince myself of believing there is no I, it hurts. So I suppose it's an intellectual wound of some kind.
And it's true that no one can persuade or convince another. A Buddha couldn't make anyone enlightened. That's why there has to be one's own careful considering. I'm just using one's own
patience
for also. Convenience. There has to be the patience and there has to be the considering about what it's true, because Ajahn can't convince you. No one can convince you. It has to be the understanding itself that
I can't even convince myself. So
no, exactly.
Fact, the Buddha didn't ask his listeners to believe what he said.
No.
He just explained the way things are and said it can be verified.
Yes, but discussing helps, because it seems I can still hear in my ears the discussion going on. and it influences me. It helps me.
Yes, me too. Me too.
And the pain, it seems that it's too painful to consider about the truth of just dharmas.
So,
But actually, the truth is for any time. Like sometimes Lucas says, well, he's, too sleepy or too feeling down. So it's like there's always a reason, but actually it's here and now. So even at those moments of great pain or feeling depressed, or it's real, it's reality, and or moments of resisting, not wanting to be persuaded or having fear. They're all different realities. So there can be a little understanding that even at those moments, even now, it's just Dharma. No one chooses to have fear. No one chooses to be depressed. No one chooses to have pain. But when there are conditions for fear, it's just a reality not belonging to anyone, and it's gone instantly. It seems the pain lasts. It seems the depression lasts. But actually, it's just a moment and then gone, like everything in life.
yes,
Yes, and that's generating fear as well. The way you're saying that seems to me there's no control, which is for me very fearful. So I cannot control anything, which is
so even
fearful.
now there can be a little understanding that it's just fear that you didn't ask to arise. It arose because there were conditions. And then it's gone the next moment when you're smiling and happy again. So it's just for a moment and then gone, all by conditions.
So it's
Very
never,
natural.
never a matter.
And Mark, Mark,
this or that, believing in karma, believing in not self, or believing anything one has heard the Buddha say. It's all. It's only a matter of what can be directly known and understood over time by carefully considering what one has heard.
Yes, I think that's the over time in patience and carefully considering that are wise, seems to me wise advice.
And Mark, I'm admiring your patience and your truthfulness and your commitment to Dhamma to really try to appreciate and understand. And I realise too, seems to me, you've got a really good awareness of your different types, the way that your own mind works. And you can see sometimes that's helpful, and also I can hear sometimes you're saying that it perhaps is not so helpful. So I'm just listening to you there. I was really appreciating your honesty.
Thank you.
But Sundara, wouldn't you agree that can also be a trap when when it's not right understanding and we sort of introspect and think and look at our own minds with the self of I, and we think that is helpful, useful, is correct, then it's actually wrong, and it's also to keep in mind, isn't it?
Well, they're good points you've made, Sukin, but there'll be many moments there, no doubt, of some points that are helpful, and I can't judge from my side what's kusala and what's kusala, but I agree, no doubt you're correct in certain respects. So that probably wasn't the point I was addressing with Mark. I was just appreciating his commitment to try and figure it all out. And yes, that will involve a lot of attachment, a lot of aversion, and probably a lot of wrong view at different moments. But however, so you're speaking truth there, from what I hear you say. But I was just indicating to Mark that he's sincere in his appreciation of Dhamma, and he, as he comes along, as you and I know, very, very regularly, and he's trying to understand what's it all about, and that often takes a lot of honest commitment to Dhamma, certainly at one level, and as you're indicating, probably there are different traps in there, sometimes subtle, sometimes quite not so subtle.
Yes, I can see that too. The traps, I can see that. Well, I can understand that intellectually, that there are traps.
When it's the story about me, my fear, my difficulty, this and that, my pain, then it's not the understanding of Dhamma at those moments. I think this is Sukin's point, different moments. But like Sundara, I appreciate the fact that you come each week and there's patience to listen and consider again and again.
But Dhamma is hard, so it's cannot be known easily at all. Even the layer beginning, it need a lot of patience and other on. So yep.
I think it was interesting what Ajahn said a couple of weeks ago, that the Buddhist needs to be confident that sound is just sound. It's not a bird. And so taking that further, the Buddhist needs to have confidence that sound is sound, hearing is hearing, touching is touching, tasting is tasting. Just different realities, each with their own characteristic, no person, no thing anywhere at all. And that confidence comes from the intellectual understanding of the teachings. But without that confidence, there can't be the direct understanding of reality, because the idea of a table or chair is so deeply rooted. And of course, it's really hard. Those are simple words, confidence that sound is sound. But there's so much depth beneath that. It's so difficult to appreciate those words. It's a really hard idea to understand, that what life is just different realities which only last an instant and gone forever. So yeah, that's what the Buddhist needs to have confidence in Dharma, just reality.
But then again, when you say sound is just sound, it seems not only intellectually that seems to be true, but also when I'm considering it, that seems to be true as well. Because what else could it be than just sound?
Yes,
so
the
it's not
hearing.
only, so I'm saying it's not only confidence, yeah, maybe, but it's also considering can bring you to that understanding as well.
Yes, I think that
because it's
even
it's so simple, eh? Sound
yes.
is just sound. It's so simple, and if you think about it and experience it, it can't be anything else than just sound.
Yes, and like touching, what is touched is hardness. It's so simple.
Yes.
But if you ask anybody what is touched, it'll always be something, table, chair.
Yeah.
It's always something, but actually those words represent the truth of that moment. What is touched is just hardness.
Yes.
And sometimes, even though we haven't got much understanding, you wake up in the morning and don't realize the position of your hands or legs, but there is hardness or softness. So there can be a beginning to understand that what is touched is hardness, and a bit later on, where's my hand? Oh yes, there it is, because it's gone numb or something like that. But even in the very beginning, there can be some understanding that realities are realities, even if it's not at a very high level.
That's a good starting point.
Yes, yeah.
And at that moment of considering with confidence that it is just sound heard, is there any fear at that moment?
No, there's not. There's sort of relief, and
right,
because it's for some reason the truth seems to be shown, so that's
right.
Well, I sort of happiness, I don't know, something like that.
So
really.
When the truth is revealed, the little more understanding, actually less and less fear, because less and less clinging to self, little by
True.
little. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
But people think that, I hardness and all that. Everybody, it seems like everybody would know and all that, but it's not the understanding the reality of it. Cannot be any understanding that they are just Dhamma.
And Mark, we're talking about the more the understanding, the less the fear. But the truth is that only an anagami does not have any more fear. Even a sotapanna has fear, so no expectations.
Yeah, thank you. No, but yeah, well, as I said a few times, there's a certain impatience of wanting to know the truth now, all of it possible. Which is just a reality.
And that's more clinging to I, wanting to understand for I, wanting not to have fear for I. So the clinging to I hinders the understanding all the time.
Yes. It's very apparent.
Lucas, did you finish your coffee? Did you want to bring any topic up?
Yeah, I just roll up a cigarette and then I can ask something. Yeah, I just finished my coffee.
Okay, anytime.
I think about forgetfulness, Sarah. I think about forgetfulness, because as the guy is saying, it's not easy to notice, as Alan and saying that faith needed, I think, Sada, Well, I'm really confused about this, just, yeah.
Confused about what?
Confused about the understanding of reality, because though the elements appear, there is no understanding, like now. So that's the thing.
When I said to Mark that the clinging to self and wanting to understand conditions the fear of not understanding or the fear of letting go of the self. Does this make sense to you, Lucas? Because if there's no...
it does. I understand this, but the point is that, how to say that, those are elements, we talk about, like hearing, and the sound is different, but I still like, there's no clear comprehension about that.
And so it has to, as everyone has been discussing, it just has to develop slowly, because even now there is seeing, even now there's hearing, moments of fear, moments of forgetfulness of what we would like to remember, but they're just different dharmas. We take them all for belonging to I, to Lucas, to Sarah, to Mark, but actually they're just all different realities arising and falling away. So even the fear, it's just a reality and it's gone, or what you call the forgetfulness, just a reality and then gone. And what is the truth of forgetfulness? Because, as you know, there is sanya, memory, at each moment. So actually there's marking and remembering at each moment, but it's not what we would like to have remembered. So it's the clinging to self again.
So, Lucas, just another element. Forgetting, not ignorant, not understanding, all just elements.
And this is what you've been sharing on Dharma study group, that whatever arises in life are just different elements, different dhatus, arising by conditions and falling away instantly. No one can change it. No one can stop fear arising. No one can make understanding arise. No one can stop seeing now. Just different elements arising by conditions, all anatta. The impatience that Mark mentioned, or wanting to understand, these are also just different elements.
Yes, that's true.
Not lasting for a moment, common to all, not my fear or my impatience that's so special, just different elements. Is there anything you would like to ask Ajahn today, Lucas?
Well, I think I will stay for a while with that, what you told me now, because, yeah, I just need time to, to study Dhamma more, I think.
I think it's so helpful to remember, as you've been writing, that whatever arises now is just an element, a dhatu. Seeing is a dhatu, hearing is a dhatu, just those dhatus which experience an object and those dhatus that don't experience anything. And that's all there is in life. No one there to be found at all. Anyway, great that you can join us, because I know it's very early for you, Lucas, so appreciate that.
Sita, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was wanted to ask Sarah, gratitude and then appreciation and realizing and understand, can we classify them as paramis?
Well, we can say that when understanding develops, all kinds of wholesomeness develops, and appreciation can be a kind of dana parami. So when others are sharing Dhamma, for example, and one appreciates what is said, this is like anumodana that you're used to using in Sri Lanka, for example. So anumodana is a kind of dana, appreciation in the other's goodness. So it can be appreciation without understanding or appreciation with understanding. When it's appreciation with understanding of what is true, what is the reality now, it is parami. It is the development of dana parami. And this was what Nina was talking about at the beginning, the development of dana parami. So this is one kind of dana, appreciation or gratitude for others, goodness or sharing.
Sometimes it comes up in between. You cannot describe it. It just happened at a split of a moment, and then you start considering over it. That's
appreciation of.
Sarah, your sound is not that well. We cannot hear you.
At the moments of appreciation of kusala, at those moments of dana with understanding. At those moments, there's no fear, no thinking about oneself, no concern about one's pain, no dwelling on how there isn't enough understanding, because at those moments one is just appreciating what is right, what is good. So it's letting go of the burden of self a little bit at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And Sita, earlier in today's discussion, Ajahn said that parami is all kinds of wholesomeness, which can be developed until there is right understanding. So any kind of wholesomeness that is developed in conjunction with the understanding of realities can be considered a parami. But we don't need to think of it as parami.
Okay, no, it's only sometimes you cannot describe it in it's some moments, it comes naturally, and then so it's
followed by thinking about it, as you said, and those.
Yeah, all happening at the same time.
So
this is, I think, more it's like a reflecting.
The reflecting can be kusala or akusala. We don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Not necessary to assume that any reflecting must be kusala, but
yeah.
Only at the moment of its arising can those moments you describe arise naturally and spontaneously.
Yeah,
they
kind of not
be known as
not to be
kusala
think about it
at the moment.
Yeah. Are you a little hungry?
Thank you.
Papa, close your mic.
Thank you.
Papa, close your mic.
I think, Nina, your question about dana and parami and whether the understanding has to be at the same time, this has been discussed many times. I don't think we have to think too much about it, about whether the understanding is at just the same moment or whether it is the generosity, for example, the appreciation that is conditioned by understanding. Like, if there was no understanding of realities, there would be no appreciation of when we hear about realities. But we don't have to try to work out whether the understanding is at exactly that moment or whether it is conditioned by the understanding. Otherwise, it's more clinging to self or trying to work out the details instead of just letting understanding develop naturally, conditioning all kinds of kusala.
That's very clear. Thank you.
Do you have anything you would like to say to Lucas, Nina, about his comments about forgetfulness and lack of sada and fear?
Yes, it's good if Lucas remembers that it is so useful what he wrote about dhatus, as was mentioned by Sarah. It helps everybody here because we have pain and we find it difficult to know their own dhatus. But when we discuss a lot, it helps. We remember the sanya, remembers the discussion, and that helps again to have, well, instead of akusala, there can be parami, the kusala included in parami. So whatever Lucas writes, it's very good. Lucas, go on writing.
Yes, Nina, thank you for your encouragement. Thanks.
Yes. Because you don't realize it helps others, but it does.
Well, I think, Lucas, that Nina's made a good point there, that your questions and considerations and wonderings about Dhamma at different levels helps us all, because I think in many, many ways, we're all very much beginners, and any sort of reminder can be very useful, So appreciate your presence and your questioning, because they're always useful.
And the problems that people mention, and the addictions and the difficulties and the ups and downs in life, common to everyone, because while there is ignorance and attachment and wrong understanding too, there are bound to be so many problems in life. Addicted to what is experienced through the senses all the time, which leads to so much dosa, so much depression, and so on. So this is just the way it is as taught by the Buddha. Without the clinging to the sense objects, there wouldn't be all those difficulties and disturbances.
So, Lucas, it's natural to feel that you are sometimes so far away from the Dhamma, because even this is only thinking and it is conditioned. Nothing special about it.
We are all in long journey, like a drop of water. Imagine ocean form. So it's taking a lot of times, not like day, month, year, or lifetime. It's a long. So.
And what is it really that's far away, the furthest away from Dhamma? Means further away, furthest from right understanding is wrong understanding. So whenever there's the idea of self, that's really being far away.
And as the Ajahn always reminds us, it's what we hear about is always now. Like when I heard about Nina at the beginning of the discussion talking about the pain from her wound, and then immediately I feel concerned and disturbed. But the reality is not Nina and not her words and not the pain, but the dosa conditioned by attachment here and now. So it always comes back to one's own citta and the here and now, this very moment, no matter in a discussion or lying on the bed or out shopping, it's always what appears at this moment, seeing now, hearing now, thinking now, happy feeling, unhappy feeling, always back to the truth at this moment.
Yes, and Lucas often said he wants a new start. He wants a new start with Dhamma. But no use to wonder what the story of Dhamma. But there is already Dhamma at this moment, Lucas.
In this sense, it is a new start at each moment, because the pain or my disturbance hearing about it, it's all gone now, or the fear that Mark mentioned, all gone. The seeing gone instantly, the hearing gone instantly. So it's a new start at each moment. And this is what Kun Un likes to hear about. Begin again, begin again. Is that right, Kun?
That's very good.
Yes. She
So
appreciates
Sarah,
hearing about begin again.
So Sarah, wouldn't you say that the problem is that we don't know how to start again?
Or we think that it's I or we that have to start. That is the real problem. Not understanding just what appears now, but taking it for I that should do something. This is the real problem. The idea that I can control, that I can stop difficulties arising, I can change my life. This is the big problem.
Even Thanachan used to say that every time is new time. Every single time is like starting points. Not that, okay, we are start and we still have a lot, we don't know. We have to know a lot more than this.
not we that can know anything at all, not we that can start, not we that can do anything. So it's the understanding that has to develop again and again, but not by I doing anything or starting anything. Perhaps, Ajahn, you would like to add some more comments to some of these topics that various people have been mentioning or discussing, like Lucas and Mark or anyone.
I think that each word of truth about reality right now should be understood clearer and clearer. Otherwise, it seems like there is enough understanding of it. But in truth, not enough, never enough at all. As long as there is no understanding of just one reality by condition at moment when it's there. For example, right now, why do we begin again and again, begin again to talk about seeing? Because seeing is there almost all the time, or we can say, like any worldly people would like to say, that is seeing all the time. Because we don't talk in details about each moment, and because seeing is there, it seems like it doesn't go away at all. That's why, what is the truth clearer than that? Otherwise, there cannot be different stages of understanding. Hearing any word, not just follow it, not just no interest in it, but what is the truth and how much so true it is. To have more confidence of the truth, that the truth is the truth. That is such a barami. So even the word barami should be understood. Why it's barami and what's the meaning of barami. Not just try to have barami, but to understand the truth of whatever is there. Because in truth, what is there now appearing is so very short. Consider that. Otherwise, it seems like it cannot be taken for something permanent or stay long, like eye or flower or desk or table or spoon. But it's not like that at all. Just begin to understand. It's not like that at all, that it seems like it's there all the time. Even when it does not appear, but there is the idea it's still there. So the world is the world of ignorance, so dark that the truth cannot be directly experienced, but we can hear about it. And what about the understanding, firmer and firmer, or just not at all? But when Marx said, he said very honestly about his understanding and his idea. No matter what we heard about Dhamma, it's a reality. It cannot be taken for anything because it's in that very, very short. As soon as it has a reason, it falls away. Is that true? It's impossible to let go the idea of self permanently, just beginning to understand the truth. But the truth does not appear, even it's heard about, but it appears as is still exactly the same as before we heard the word of Dhamma. That's why the confidence of the truth has to be developed at moment of understanding, whether it's true or not. Be truthful to the truth. Otherwise, it is not sattva, barami. The word barami comes in. Why? Understanding the truth is barami, because the truth can be directly experienced until it can let go the idea of self permanently, absolutely, never to arise again at all. That's why even just the word of truth that we heard from the beginning just one or two times, it can be more to have more confidence of the truth. Otherwise, the truth is that, but I believe that, or I have, and I think like that. But what is right and what is wrong? To be truthful, satya, parami. Otherwise, there cannot be moment of letting go, the clinging to what is there, little by little, in life, normal life, natural life. Because what is now so natural, it's so true, because it's there by conditions. Nobody can change. Why? They're gone, everything gone before anyone can do anything, or before there can be anything to be done with it. Just hearing, considering, having more confidence. And that's why did Buddha teach for 45 years? Because just for one day or 2 days, it's not enough to let go wrong understanding that has been accumulated for a long time up to now, this moment, from morning up to now. See, that's why right understanding struggle along while there are moments of akusala that come in time to time. That's why it has to be parami to develop right understanding, to know, to experience the truth, because it's there. The truth is that it arises in false way.
You getting ready for the morning?
As the truth is there,
Getting ready for the
right
morning.
understanding only.
John, your microphone's on. Please continue, Tanajan. Sorry.
If it's not this moment, what moment can be directly known of the truth of what is there? It has to be what is there now. No matter it is great joy, very pleasant feeling, no matter what, right understanding can experience the truth when there are enough conditions. For now, honestly, everyone knows that understanding is not enough. But what about thinking over it again and again, whether it's true or not? This moment before it arises, it's not there. But when it's there, it has to be conditioned to arise, to be only such reality. Nobody can change the way it is at all. Just having understanding of the truth, it's a moment of Dhamma, right understanding, and kusala moment support to have more confidence of the truth and not forget about the truth. When one is asked what is meant by forgetfulness, it's moment of akusala. That's why parami is not moment of akusala, but kusala moment is more difficult to arise because the accumulation of akusala is so strong. That's why even just a moment of kusala is so very worthwhile, because it can be conditioned for other moments to arise again and again and again. That's why it needs parami too, to be patient, not to go wrong. So to be truthful from the very beginning of just one word, Dhamma, what is meant, a reality. Can it be true in one moment, like can kusala and akusala arise together or be the same? Impossible. Just only one, conditioned by many, many conditions to be known as it cannot be taken for anyone can do, or it, whether there is anyone to do at all. That's why being truthful is parami. To be truthful to the truth, this moment is gone, right or wrong. Seeing is not hearing. They cannot arise together. They have to arise at different moments. And in life, even there's so many, many realities, conditioned. What is known is only what is there, hearing through 6 doorways only. We talk about Panchadwara Vachana, Sampadichana, Sampirana. They do not appear. So what appears is the object of 6 doorways. And the experiences of 6 doorways with the Jevasikas as different conditions to condition just a moment of that moment and never arise again when it's gone. Just have confidence to condition moment of begin not to forget in life. even just thinking about it, it's only hardness. See, it can be any moment, just not many moments, but it's enough in the beginning to understand the anatta-ness of whatever is there. And the understanding of anatta-ness itself, letting go the idea of something like my hand or soap or whatever, because it just appears happy, that's all. So there can be the understanding of different realities at different times, little by little in daily life. The most important thing is in daily life, because that is the way it is, conditioned to be kusala or akusala, different moments with different kinds of realities, cetasitas, and so on. So very natural, but it's different from moment without understanding. And that is the firm confidence of the path. It has to be by conditions. So whatever arises from morning up to now, by conditions, and conditions the other moment on and on and on. If there is the idea of I, what is I after death? Where is it? And what is meant by death? And what is meant by birth? The reality can be known by the enlightenment of the Buddha. And we heard the word about the truth of what is there. And when there's the understanding that it can be studied, it can be known, it can be realized, it's conditioned for more understanding or thinking about it sometimes by conditions. And that is the way of parami. So parami is not just the word, it's the reality, right understanding, enriched, so it can condition different ways of kusala to be done. Because it understands what is right and what is wrong, and no matter what, it's not anyone at all. Because kusala conditioned the result as kusala vipaka, and akusala conditioned akusala vipaka. No one there at all. Right understanding will let go regret of any akusala at any time. Without parami, can there be the enlightenment of the truth, which is now hidden in darkness covers everything, just like a dream, never to arise again. So understanding is the best Sankara-Dhamma, because it can understand the truth of what is there now. I'm hearing, I'm thinking. Even we don't use the word, if we don't speak out, it's there. So it's not just the word that I think that is I, but even not speak anything about that, the I is there, underlying asava, anussaya. Condition what is there in life, and then never to arise again. Better to understand the truth, because it's here and now, so very close, so close in a moment, how close it is.
Thank you, Ajahn.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ